expert in, Erin. What is your superpower?
I think the superpower that I have that's just so much more fun for me to play with my clients is listening to them talk about what they want, kind of realizing where they're holding themselves back, why and how, showing them what's actually possible, creating the path to the thing they really want, helping people reframe how they're thinking about themselves, how they're thinking about what they're trying to accomplish, how they're thinking about what is or is not possible, so that we can get that intentionality as opposed to anything that's being directed by a story, what we're supposed to do, or any other limiting factor. That's the superpower that I just absolutely love.
Welcome to the Turbo Branding Show, where we help you ignite your growth by leveraging your brand to grow faster, easier, and more successfully. I'm your host, Sue Kirchner, and today I am welcoming Erin Marcus back to the show. So let's delve into today's episode and turbocharge your brand. First, thank you so much for being here, Erin. I'm excited to have you on the show again.
I'm excited. Any time to, geek out on marketing related things, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Exactly. Ooh, well, then we're going to have fun. So, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to talking about your new venture, how you're rebranding yourself. But before we jump into all that, let me share a little bit of your bio to our listeners. So Erin Marcus is an award-winning small business owner and highly regarded speaker, author, and thought leader, empowering people to get out of reaction mode, intentionally choose the life they want, and then go about creating it. And she's the host of the top 2% internationally ranked podcast, Ready Yet? And has appeared as a guest on over 100 shows and stages. But instead of me reading more about how awesome your background and experience
are, that's comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Let me make you squirm a little bit, but let's have a little fun with some questions so that we're going to pull your story out and get to know you a little bit better. But before we dive into what you do, let me ask you, what are you an expert in, Erin? What is your superpower?
My superpower? My personal superpower, business related. I think one of my strengths. There's the whole marketing side and reverse engineering, strategic growth, and it's just the way my brain works. And it's fun and I love doing it. But I think the superpower that I have that's just so much more fun for me to play with my clients is listening to them talk about what they want, kind of realizing where they're holding themselves back, why and how, showing them what's actually possible, creating the path to the thing they really want, right? It's that getting out of your own way and then helping them to reframe how they're thinking so that they can do the bigger thing.
Okay.
Right? Helping people reframe how they're thinking about themselves, how they're thinking about what they're trying to accomplish, how they're thinking about what is or is not possible, so that we can get that intentionality as opposed to anything that's being directed by a story, what we're supposed to do, or any other limiting factor. That's the superpower that I just absolutely love.
Awesome. So speaking of that, then, how did you roll that up into an offering or what you're working on now? Since I've known you, you've changed, your branding at least, I think, twice. And and we'll talk about this in a second, not the why, not the core promise, but you've changed the way that you're packaging how you can help people. So tell me a little bit more about what you're doing now.
So to me, I always go back to, I mentioned intentionality. And one of the questions that I ask clients all the time, I ask everybody this. It's a simple question and it's really, really hard to answer. And the question is, what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah.
Because there's no answer that's correct or incorrect. But if you don't pick it, default mode for what do you want seldom gets you where you actually want to be. And I was really just doing that for myself. It's something that I've also reflected on internally.
Yeah.
Wait, what do I want? Because if you're I was gonna say, if you're not careful, even if you are careful, businesses get really complicated. Everything you could, oh, this worked, oh, that worked. You have your head down, you're in the weeds. The next thing you know, you end up with a business that you don't even want.
Hmm.
You're not even sure how you got there.
Right.
If you don't keep an eye on what do I want? What do I want? And so for me, the rebranding was an iteration of two things mostly. It was an iteration of what did I want?
Yeah.
And I think that was created maybe by age, maybe by life cycle, but it was really the what I wanted changed as the self-help, self-improvement journey
Okay.
continued,
Okay.
right? Like
Yeah.
we all have heard, or if you haven't, this is a big one for entrepreneurs and small business owners, especially, that your business can't outgrow you, right? Your business can't outgrow you. But the flip side is also true.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in growth mode as personally as a human,
Yeah.
then often the business that you created 10 years ago is no longer the right fit.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much what happened to me. I
Yeah.
was on a very big dive into myself. What, who am I? Who was I? This is really what one of the key questions that changed everything. Who was I going to be before life turned me into what I had to be?
Mm. Okay.
And so as I did my internal work and allowed that to come out, how I wanted to spend my time changed. But kind of like what you said, who I help and what I do for them didn't change.
Right.
It was just the way that it was being delivered changed. The ideal client changed and has fluctuated a bit as I have honed in on who I could really make the most difference for and who I wanted to have an impact on.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you about who you want to help make an impact on. But let's go back for a second and talk about that idea of what doesn't change, right? When we talk about rebranding a lot, someone will come to me and says, "Oh, I'm tired of my logo." Or I'm tired of my messaging. I feel I need to rebrand, and I immediately put a break on that. And I'm like, the real reason to rebrand is because what you're doing now is actually hurting you from
Right.
getting business as opposed to
It's not
helping.
working anymore,
It's
not
not
because you're
working.
bored.
That's when you spend money. Yeah.
That's also a really, really, really good point. Most entrepreneurs mess themselves up because we get bored.
Yeah.
So we will stop doing something that's actually working because we're tired of doing it.
Right.
Those are things you don't quit the things that are working, you delegate them to other people so that you can then expand on what you would like to personally focus on.
Right.
When it's all stops working for a variety of reasons, whether it be it's not a fit anymore, whether it's not financially working anymore, then we invest in money to solve and solve the
To
problem.
solve that problem. Exactly. But what I like to tell people is that, the passion, the why behind why you started your business or the brand promise, which is what I talk about with them constantly, is that should not change, right?
That never changed.
The fire that you want to do something to make an impact in the world or for other people or for your business or for your employees, that why stays the same. The makeup you wear around it changes. And as you said, I mean, the market changes, your target customer could change, and you need to fix your messaging. Or, as you said, people outgrow the business they started. So you may still want to stay in the business you started, but now it's going to take on a brand new
Well, and it
elevation.
iterates.
Yeah.
You can iterate for a very long time without having to rebrand.
Yes. Yes.
I iterated within the Conquer Your Business brand probably 3 times
Right.
before I felt any need to rebrand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
So it's not, yeah, I think, and one of the things I think that happens is people say I need to rebrand, not just because they don't know what else to ask, right? It's almost like a default reaction.
Hmm.
Oh, I need a new logo. I'm bored with my business. I need to change what color it is.
Right.
And it's not because they're not smart people. It's just because they don't know what else to ask.
Right. Exactly. So, and yeah, like I said, it's, rebranding. If your existing messaging and brand is hurting you, you absolutely need to rebrand. Or if something is changing dramatic, there's a big transformation. Your why is still the same, but the way you're going to go to market is different. Well, that's a perfect time to go ahead and rebrand and signal that something is different to the marketplace and
Yeah,
things like that. And,
absolutely.
it can also be a great rallying cry for your employees or the people around you to say, woo, this is a new era. We're going to be doing something different. So I agree with all of that you said. So here's a question for you though, because this is something I hear a lot, especially when people are just starting their business or they're solopreneurs and things like that, is you had a business name. At a certain point, you made a decision, I'm going to build a brand around a business name. And
Mhm.
now you've switched and you're building it around your own name, Erin Marcus.
Which is backwards from what most people do, by the
It is
way.
backwards, but I'm similar. I've done the same thing. I decided up front when I started Brand Strong Marketing about 10 years ago, no, I'm going to build a brand. It's not going to be dependent on me. I'm going to build a brand name, right? Well, as time goes on, 10 years later, I've realized that, well, it's me.
It's me.
It.
And for me, that shift, going back to why did I rebrand? Conquer Your Business was a great brand for an ideal client who needed to learn, and this is who I worked with, who really needed to learn how to run a business like a business,
Mm,
right? To
yeah,
be in charge of their business, to get out of reaction mode, to do the things that prevent the snowball from really taking effect, right? It was a great brand. And that was who I really loved working with. People who had an idea and they had started and tried, but then they realized that doing the thing that the business, this is how I describe it. Conquer Your Business was a great brand for the people who realized, who got out there for a minute and then realized that doing the thing the business does for a living and growing a business are two different things.
absolutely.
And you start your business because of the thing you love doing. And then a couple years in, you go, how, like, this isn't what I just want to do the thing. So I help people go from solopreneur to business owner and start treating that entity like an actual business. And
Right.
the concept of a very direct red and black imagery, plus I was still living in the city. It is, my city kid background. That brand was, it was all block letter. It was very much a masculine energy for an in charge message. And
Hmm.
truthfully, my ideal client, and I do work with guys and was working with guys, but it really was more women who needed to tap into that energy because it wasn't natural to them and teach
Okay.
them how to use that type of transactional masculine energy to mesh with their softer side. And so that was fantastic. But as I changed, and I changed how much I want to work. Those were big group programs. I was speaking everywhere. I was on podcast. That was a lot of work, and I loved it. And it was a big, complicated, it got complicated. It was a bigger, complicated company. But then I changed, and I got quieter, and I wanted to work less.
Yeah.
And I shifted not what I do for people. How do you get more of what you want? How do you build the alignment so you can have the business that you want, not the business that you're settling for? The whole, it's still all the same, but I'm now working much more with the purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are ready for a breakthrough growth strategy situation. And I've scaled back on the bells and whistles because the way I'm just working with private clients now because I've decided I want to now, there's other things that I have going on in my life that I want to give them more time.
Okay. All right.
And so that feeling is not conquer your business. it's just that more personal touch.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. It's me, as I describe it, it's me all up in your business, right? Like, it's
Perfect.
that's really it's a different. I'm working with people that I don't have to handhold anymore to do business. They just need different plans.
Right. Right.
And so, and truthfully, like just, very vulnerably, I am more that person now.
Yeah.
When I left corporate to start my own business and brought my blue suit, with me and my masculine transactional energy that served me so well in corporate.
Right.
But as I've evolved, that no longer suited me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, you've talked about alignment. You've talked about who your ideal client is and how you work with them privately and how it's one-on-one with you. So obviously the brand makes more sense to be
Right.
you
Mhm.
and conquer your business. And I love what you mentioned earlier about how, a lot of people start their business because they love what they do. I'm the same way. I wish I would have read E-Myth, the book
Right.
E-Myth, at least 8 years earlier than I did, right? To be able to understand and
Yes.
gone through many iterations of I love what I do. I don't want to run a business. No, I do want to run a business. And then wait, I don't want to have employees, and you go back and
Right.
forth with these iterations. So
Absolutely.
it absolutely works. But what about this new positioning or this new one-on-one personal touch that you're doing? What excites you the most about that?
I think the impact that I can have,
Okay.
the impact that I can have, because what I have found was working with the people who just needed to learn how to do a business. That was great. And I love doing that because my background is business. So I do love that side of things.
Yeah.
But then what happened was I also found myself in rooms where I was really working more with the $5 million business that wanted to be a $10 million business. And
Okay.
that sounds exciting, but that's very businessy.
Yeah, that's
It's
different. That's
very, no,
processes. Yeah.
it's very businessy and it's
Yeah.
very strategic, it's very businessy. So for me, I just wanted to bring so much more of the inner work and the mindset work into my business and what I do because that's what I was. And by the way, some of the brand shift was really in response to what I was already attracting.
Okay. Well done.
So
Yeah.
I would sit down with clients and we would put together these amazing plans. And then we'd really spend the next 6 months helping them get out of their own way so they could work the plan. So the impact to me, I'm like, okay, when I talk about I changed my brand because I changed what I wanted. And I
Yeah.
really spent a lot of time reflecting, okay, what do I want? And the
Right.
two things that I came up with, like it was like a good year that I was journaling constantly. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And I wanted two things. I wanted to have more freedom of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to be tied to very long programs.
Yep.
And I wanted to have a bigger impact.
Okay.
And so for me, helping the person go from 5 million to 10 million, it's fun. It's business. I like the business puzzles. So it wasn't like I disliked it.
Right.
But I felt that I could, if I help somebody, especially a woman, go from 100K to 500K, that's impact.
That's impact.
That's life changing for
That's
that.
freedom. Yep. Yep.
If I can show a woman making 50K a year that she could actually quite easily make 250
Mm-hmm.
and have a 50% profit margin on it, that's life-changing money for that person.
Right.
Going from 5 million to 10 million, okay, you could hire more people,
Yeah.
but it's not life-changing money for the person I'm working with. They're
Right.
already pulling the money. They're
Right.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really, and with my background, that is just an important, ridiculously important segment of the population.
Okay.
To put more money, aka more control, power, freedom,
Mm-hmm.
in the hands of women who are in charge of families
Yep.
is highly high. That's impact.
That is impact. Yep.
And so that's what I really, and I know that as much as the group programs are fun, because I love to me it's just a party. Let's out, the community of it. Like I
Yeah.
absolutely, don't be wrong.
There's energy in a room
There's
full of
nothing, right.
awesome
I mean,
people.
I
Yes.
didn't stop doing it because I disliked the people. That was not a
Right.
thing. But the energy and the impact, the generational impact, truthfully.
Right.
When I thought about, okay, I want more freedom of time and I want to make a bigger impact, that's really what came out of it.
Yeah. See, and that's a fantastic why. I mean, it's incredibly motivating. It's not different from anything else that you've done
No,
throughout your past iterations and brands and things like that. So, I love how this new iteration it lights you up, and that's exciting.
it's truly an iteration that I've grown into,
Yes.
as opposed, right? And it was time to rebrand to match.
Yeah.
That, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't to solve a problem that isn't solved by rebranding, right?
Right. Right. So let me ask you a question. For a second, let's talk about courage, right? Because we're going to talk about alignment, what's holding you back, and we're going to talk about you did a ton of journaling to kind of say, what do I want? And I think for a lot of us, especially women, it takes courage to kind of say, well, what do I want? And can I articulate it? And can I not feel guilty about saying what I want? But I also talk about that with branding, even with organizations, right? Because
Okay.
I talk about the fact, even just having a conversation with the founder of a company to say, you need to pick your ideal target market. You cannot be everything to everyone. You need to put a flag in the ground and say, this is who we are and this is who we serve. And a lot of people find that incredibly frightening, and it takes courage. So tell me a
It
little bit about
takes
courage.
courage. It takes courage. But I also think it takes courage because people don't understand.
Hmm.
When you realize the math,
Yeah.
you need less courage because it actually makes sense. And I'll give you the example that I use when I'm working. I use two examples.
Okay.
Number one, there's no money in the middle.
Mm.
There's just no money in the middle. And when I was getting my MBA and the capstone class was this competition and we were all running a athletic shoe company, the
Okay.
people who went for the middle lost. They just lost.
Yeah.
But here's the example that I use for this that helps people. And this is why I go back to you said, what's my superpower? My
Yeah.
superpower is reframing how people think so that they're able to do things they didn't think they could do.
Okay.
And so the reframe on the courage is Bloomingdale's makes tons of money.
Hmm.
Walmart makes tons of money. Who's going out of business?
Mm.
Kohl's, J.C. Penney,
Right.
right? The
Right.
people who are trying to play in the middle
Be everything to everyone. Hmm.
are going out of business.
Right.
It doesn't take courage to make a data-driven decision that prevents you going out of business.
Right.
So I find that using those analogies helps because the reason the fear comes up is because we think it's about us,
Hmm.
right? The only reason there's fear is because we're inserting ourselves, our stories, our worries into a business decision.
Yes.
So if we can remove ourselves to whatever extent that's possible and have data-driven decisions, because it's one thing for me to say, suck it up, buttercup, pick a lane. But if, that's hard.
Right.
That's almost unfair because now I've got to get you past 30, 40, 50 years of limiting beliefs and subconscious programming.
Right.
But if I instead show you business data and prove to you on paper that there's no money in the middle
Right.
and ask you, you can do volume or you can do value, right?
Right.
The triangle, you get money, you get time, or you get, what do you call it? How good, not value, but how good something is.
Oh, yeah.
You only get to pick two.
Right.
Which two do you want?
Yes.
If we can start making them data-driven business decisions, helps overcome the fear long enough to get a ball rolling.
Yes. Yes. No, you're right. Yeah, I was going to the other triangle. I was like, oh, you can compete. There's a triangle of competition. It's how you want to
Right.
model it. I'm like, you
It's
can be low cost, you can be product innovation, or you can be super service. And maybe you can touch two, but you
you
can
can
never
only
be all
touch two,
three.
right? You can
Yeah.
either be really, really, really high performance, you
Yep.
could be really, really, really fast, or you could be really, really, really cheap.
Yes.
You pick two. Like
Right.
McDonald's, it's cheap and it's fast.
Right.
How good it is.
You can even argue it's not cheap anymore, and
It's
that's
right, not
maybe a
cheap
little bit
anymore.
why they've lost their way.
And if you argue with me, I can tell you it's actually really, really good because I'm weird that way.
Yes. No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
McDonald's fries and McDonald's Coke is like
It's good for you.
it's so
Yes. Yes.
good.
Yeah, I have a neighbor who every morning gets on her bike and goes and gets her Diet Coke in the drive-through at McDonald's.
Something different. I don't know what they're doing, but it's good.
It's good, right? So, all right. Here's another thing I want to talk about with branding a little bit is you have a quote on your website that I saw that I love. And you were talking about it in terms of people taking charge of their dreams and doing something they really want. But I also think it applies to branding. So I'm just going to read it here. It's if you don't make decisions for you, you give that power away to people who may not be vested in you, want the same things as you, or have the same goals and desires as you. It's time to learn how to be in charge, take action, and get results. So, where did that quote come from, and what did you mean by that? And then I'm going to talk about how I think it applies to branding.
So it applies to everything.
Yeah.
So here's where literally everything. Here's where that came from. I was writing a book and doing a lot of speaking when I had my business working with families with aging parents. And through the coursework in that program, we developed what was called, what is your point of view?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want the world to know? What do you want the world to know?
Yeah.
And that is my answer to what I want the world to know.
Okay.
Because in my life, my first surgery, now when I first came up with that, I was talking about families with aging parents because I was watching them avoid difficult conversations.
Mm.
And what happens is when you avoid having a difficult conversation about an inevitable situation, it doesn't mean the conversation goes away, the problem goes away. It just means the conversation is going to happen at the most inopportune time. And your options are going to be fewer and they're all going to be more expensive. But as I dove into that content and my own thoughts about it, my first surgery was at 24 hours old. Hmm. And the reason I had surgery was because my mother in 1970 literally won an argument with one doctor over another doctor, and they took me away to find out what was wrong with me. And I had life-saving surgery instead of if doctor number one won, I would have never made it.
Yeah.
And then when I was 5 years old, I got bit by a Great Dane in an accident at the house. And the emergency room doctor wanted to stitch me up. And my mother said, whoa, 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 is she stable? And if the answer is yes, in 1975, before the internet, before cell phones, we got a hold of the top pediatric plastic surgeon in Chicago and got him out of bed. And now you can't even see scars on my face. I have 110 stitches in my face.
Wow.
And most people never even know.
Yeah. And
so the truth of the matter is, if you don't, whether it's doctors, lawyers, the government, your mother, your partner, your ex-partner, like what, your kids, whatever it is, if you don't make decisions for you, it doesn't make the other people bad or wrong, but by default, someone else will make your boss. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't make decisions for you, intentionally creating what it is you want, intentionally deciding and then putting the pieces together to assure that it happens, you literally hand that power to somebody else. They don't have to be bad or wrong, but they might not be the same alignment as you are.
Right. Right. Yeah. I agree 100%. And like I said, I'm going to talk about how this applies to branding because I have had a lot of clients over the years, the many years that I've been and pushing branding, and I'll have some people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, well, I don't need a brand, or I don't have a brand. We don't do any marketing, so I don't have a brand," right? And that's okay. And I say, you know what? If you don't define yourself, someone else will.
Right.
And you may not like what they say about you. And so the reason I push that is because the brand resides in the minds of your stakeholders. You don't own it. The best you can do is
You can
manage it.
barely control it. You
Really
can
control it,
influence
but you
it.
have to control it and
Right.
influence it and management, because otherwise you don't want your customers going around saying, "Oh, well, they're good at this," when really you were like, "No, no, no, I wanted you to say this." Or you especially don't want your competitors telling your customers, "Oh, this company, they're no good. They don't do this,
Or
they're
they
bad
don't
with
do that
service,
when it is something
and
you
they
do.
don't do that," or
100%.
things like that. You absolutely do not want your competitors defining who you are to your customers. So be intentional. Take control of that brand and say who you are, what you want, what you offer, what clients do you serve the best, and things like that. And by doing that, you take some of that power and control back,
And the
which you
best
need.
definition of brand that I ever heard, that the one that I really loved
Yeah.
was your brand is how people feel and talk about you after you've left the room.
Yes.
And whether it's your logo being the physical manifestation of that emotion, or your offer being a physical manifestation of the problem that you solve, if you don't decide how you want people to feel after they've engaged with you in some way,
Yeah.
and then intentionally created all the pieces to
Make
create
it
that
happen. Yeah.
feeling, you can't guarantee that that's how they're feeling.
Right. Right. And
And
you
you
need.
become susceptible. That's my other big thing is if you don't do things with intention, if you don't know what you want and you don't do these things with intention, you become susceptible to other people influencing and telling you how to do things and what to do, only because they're more confident about them than you are about you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. All right. Well, this has been fascinating. I'm going to ask you one last question before we end here. And this is something I've been doing in my episodes since I don't think I did it with you because you were one of
Uh-oh.
my first guests, but I am all about honoring small businesses that are just killing it with their brand, doing a fantastic job in terms of their messaging and the way they deliver the experience and things like that. So I would like to ask you to nominate a small business, or it could be a product, could be a business, a service that you think deserves a shout out for their brand building.
For their brand building. Oddly enough, it's a former client, and
Mhm.
oddly enough, brand is one of her specialties. Copper Theory Creative.
Okay.
So Caitlin Penny at Copper Theory Creative, like here, how cute is that? Her last
Yeah.
name is Penny, and it's
Yeah.
Copper Theory Creative. But what I've watched her do, I've known her for years, and as her business has grown, what I've watched her do is really put together for herself this iteration and this evolving of what she does for her clients, which is the visual side
Hmm.
of branding to be
Okay.
able, and I think part of the reason I would say I nominate her is you can see for those of you watching the artwork behind me.
Yeah.
To me, anything artistic is like magic because I have
Yes.
zero skills.
Love it. I'm the same way. I wish my daughter is amazing artist and creative thinker and all that. And I can think the ideas. I just can't
I
execute it.
can't create it. And
Yeah.
so for me, the idea that there's people out there who can interview you about your brand
Yeah.
and then turn it into a visual
Yes.
is like, right? And you look at it like,
Magic.
yes, that is like, it's absolute magic. So I
Yeah.
love how her business has evolved with her. I love that she does that for other people. And I love that she has really, really learned how to add branding to marketing and put the whole thing together.
Excellent.
We'll go
Excellent.
with
Well,
that.
we're going to give her a shout out on social media for after
Awesome.
this episode. So,
You
but
deserve
I would just like to say, Erin, thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing what you're doing now and how you tackled rebranding. But if an entrepreneur or a business owner out there wants to talk with you about fixing their lack of alignment or achieving their dreams, how can they find you?
Make it real easy. It's all at erinmarcus.com, all in one place.
Nice. It is easy. So perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good to hang out with you again.
Yes. And thank you for joining us for this episode of the Turbo Branding Show. I hope you've been inspired to ignite your growth by leveraging your brand. And if you enjoyed it, I would love it if you could help me build a strong brand following for the show. Please share this episode and be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. And thank you, and stay tuned for our next show.